Thank you so much for joining me, Tim. I'm excited to chat with you.
No, it's good to finally chat, and yeah, I'm excited to tell all. I guess I could say.
So you are part of final test week, but I understand you didn't really get into the experiment at that stage. That wasn't your first stage of getting involved in the experiment, right? How were you introduced to Married at First Sight?
Look, I'd never watched the show before. I knew what Married at First Sight was about. I'd seen bits and pieces before, but my sister said to me, she was like, "You should go on this show. You'd be great at it." So here I am, plodding along, going through the process, and I was one of the main participants. I got the phone call towards the end of June to say that you were going to be on the show. You're going to get married in 3 weeks' time. It sort of got maybe like 4 or 5 days out from when I thought I was supposed to be moving to Sydney. And I hadn't really heard anything. I'm like, what's going on here? So I finally got a phone call, and they said, "Look, your bride to be has been very in then out, very wishy washy. We're trying to get a straight answer from her. She doesn't know if she wants to come on the show anymore, and we don't have a backup option for you." And I was like, "Well, what does that mean for me?" And they said, "Well, this rarely happens, but." Unfortunately, we've got other people to focus on, and if we don't, we've gone through the process with psych tests, finding out exactly what your match is, what you're looking for, and if they don't, follow through, then we don't have a match for you, but we can consider you for mid-season as an intruder. So I said, well, when will you have a definite answer on this? Because I've already organised to have 3 months out of my business. So if I'm not going to be on the show, then I'm going to go to Europe. so so I got a phone call the following day, and they said, look, it looks like she's out. But what we'll do is we'll stay in contact, and we can get you on in mid-season at around about 6 or 7 weeks time. So I went to Europe and enjoyed myself over in Europe for 6 weeks.
Now
And
you're coming back as this special guest, as the backup option for Athena.
yeah,
So does this essentially mean that Athena was the bride that was wishy-washy?
potentially. I'm not too sure because there's other things that happened in between this as well. So they were obviously staying in contact with me while I was in Europe. And at this time is when the participants started to be leaked online for the upcoming season. So I'm looking through, I'm like, okay, I know this person, Lauren. We matched on dating app Hinge going back maybe like 18 months ago, and we'd had quite a few conversations, and we were planning on catching up and going on a date. It never eventuated, but we sort of just stayed in contact every now and again and had a few messages here and there. And when I saw her pop up as one of the participants for season 12, I sent her a message on Insta and just said, hey, like, I'm meant to be on the show as well. I see that you are. And she said, whatever you do, stay in Europe. It's an absolute show. It's going to be much better over there. Do not come here. It's not worth it. And that was when Elliot had just left her. She was saying, yeah, they're trying to remarry me and find me someone else. And I said, well, they're considering me for, a mid-season intruder. She'd had a phone call from producers. I had an email from producers. They're pretty much telling me that they could get me married in 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks time. And they'd told her the same thing. So we're like, are they pairing us together? And, if they do, like, do we go through with it? Do we pretend we don't know each other? Lauren called me when I landed in Brisbane, actually, and she was asking if I had a call with producers that day, which I did. And I never really heard from Lauren again. It's weird. It's weird. Like, I literally never really heard from her again. And then I think it was a few weeks later, I saw that she had then married Clint. Monday before, I was supposed to be moving to Sydney to get married for a potential second time. And they said, yep, everything's looking good. We're just finalizing everything. So stay put, like everything's going to get sorted, but everything's looking like it's moving in the right direction. I was like, okay, no worries. Thursday rolls around and I haven't heard anything. So I flicked them a message. They said, Tim, we'll call you this afternoon. So I got a phone call at 6 p.m. on the Thursday. And they said, look, we've had a change of heart. We're going a different direction. You're no longer required on the show. Fast forward a month. So it's 4 or 5 weeks passes. Get a phone call. And it's one of the producers. Tim, so got something to tell you. Your match is actually on the show. She's married right now. I'm like, my match? I thought my match didn't come on the show. And he said, well, your match is here, and she's currently in the experiment. And we have a bit of a plan that, if you come on the show, it could put you in a good position to be on future seasons if you are open to it. I'm thinking at this point, I don't want to be involved in, in future seasons. But hey, why not go along with it? So they said, look, we'll be in contact. What we want to do is probably not going to happen for another, 4 to 5 weeks at this stage, but we'll stay in contact. So anyway, I think maybe like a fortnight before I do go on this date with Athena, I get a phone call. All right, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go on a date day. She's still married on the show. but there's been a little bit of disruption relationship, and we're going to see if she's going to be open to meeting you. So I said, all right, I'm down for that. Sort of goes against my morals and my values, but at this point in time, I was like, after all this back and forth business, look, I'll say yes to an op just for the experience, right?
And now, if we unpack you as a viewer, knowing all of that with the potential with Athena, but then also specifically on Lauren, knowing how she reacted and how she behaved on the show, how do you think your relationship would have been like with her if you did get married with her as an intruder?
I think because we already knew each other, we probably would have played along a little bit because we knew each other. And I think that might have been a bit of the hesitation from her side of things, if speculating that if we knew each other, how are we going to play that out if we pretended not to know each other, in a sense? I think from the way that she was portrayed on the show, yeah, I'd struggle in that situation. I think just the way that she would speak down on people, it's not really something that I believe in. I think my background is I'm a social worker. I own a mental health support company. I'm very empathetic, compassionate, and open to all kinds of people, right? And not that the participants on the show are organic by any means, but I think just that judginess and that entitlement doesn't sit well with me. So I wouldn't be suited to someone that had that outlook on life.
And how have you felt watching it back, piecing those puzzles together, thinking like, okay, that could have been me there, or this is the timeline that I would have been asked, all of those
It's
things?
weird to think about because I was part of that whole process. And it's like, this is where I would have been stepping in right now, potentially. So it was sort of hard watching it, knowing that I could have been part of it. But at the same time, I think I'm almost grateful in the sense that it has worked out the way that it has. Everything happens for a reason, right? And I feel like that something may have been working in my favor just to get me on for this one episode as opposed to being on for the whole season, because I think we can both agree there's been a lot of drama and things go down this season that I don't know if I want to be part of that, to be honest.
Like the concept of the week seems like it's introducing this backup, like, oh, before you make your decision, do you want to see someone else that you could be matched with? But from your perspective, did it end up being more like a therapist session where you were kind of coaching Athena about her relationship with Adrian, or was it ever romantic?
Going into that challenge, she didn't know what Adrian had said to that, and Adrian didn't know what she had said in regards to meeting up with someone new. So I think in the back of her mind, she's probably got like, is Adrian on a date with someone else right now? And then she's probably like, okay, but if he's not, how am I going to be portrayed if I'm flirting with this guy, showing any level of interest? So I feel like it was, I was hesitating a bit from my side of things for obvious reasons, and I think she was as well. But the first thing that I say when I go in there is, I'm just letting you know I'm not here to be a homewrecker. I'm just curious as to why you wanted to meet with me today. And she goes into saying that, she's really struggling to know where to go with her relationship from here. I pretty much just ask her about her values, her wants, needs, and expectations in a relationship, what she's truly looking for. And if those needs and expectations aren't being met, then why is she still there? So I pretty much just encouraged her to go with her gut. So it became like a therapy session. I probably should have sent an invoice and said, here you go. Say, I'll be on the couch next year as one of the experts.
If you were just matched with Athena, do you think, having watched the show and having met her, you could have formed a relationship?
There definitely are some shared values that do align. When you spend an hour with somebody in a situation like that where you've got cameras around and you're mic'd up, it is hard to really be authentic and genuine. But from watching the season and just how kind, genuine, and caring Athena is, I mean, they're qualities that I definitely look for in a partner. So yeah, I think based on that, definitely there could have been a relationship that formed there.
Have you spoken to Athena since that date?
No, no, have not had any contact. I followed her once the season started, but there was no contact past that date. No.
It's not like you had a friendship with Athena, but you kind of had this affinity. And then watching the way that Adrian treated her, especially in 2 or 3 weeks ago with a family visit and all of that, what were your thoughts watching that? And yeah, how do you feel towards Adrian?
I had my protective husband mode on. I did. I actually messaged a couple of my friends that watched the show, and I was like, "How dare he treat Athena like that? Like, she's just such a kind, caring, genuine person." I really started feeling for her, especially with, Cleo, that that family catch up that they had, and she just started bawling her eyes out. I really felt for her. And I think that, I've got some mutual connections with Adrian actually. Um, and yeah, look, the way that he is on the show, they have said that, yeah, he's like that in real person. So yeah, watching Awhina definitely, I felt for her, and I think that she definitely deserves better. Post date, the producers asked me a series of questions, and one of them is, what do you think that Awhina should do? What do you think her decision should be moving forward? And I said, from what she's told me about how he's treated her, I don't think she should stay in that relationship. But now watching it back, I'm actually quite surprised that she stays until the end, to be honest.